Define wealth. What does it mean to you?
I think growing up, parents prioritize monetary wealth as the most important thing. That's how you define yourself. That's how your peers would value you. Over the years, what I define now more than anything is my ability to help people. Because I've realized it doesn't matter if you're on a private jet or if you're just on the street somewhere, having a banter with the boys. I think just surrounding yourself with the right people. And why I like you guys so much and spending probably too much time here, it's really fun to just be around like-minded people that have the same motivations to want to help. If you want to do something and you really go out and get it, things just naturally start coming. I better help people right now would be the best thing. I love putting smiles on other people's faces. When you have done a little bit of it, it's actually quite addictive. And when you can make a difference in even just one person's life, it's a very rewarding feeling. And I think that's what then drove me to what I'm trying to do today.
Thanks for coming on, Eli. I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to talk about what wealth means to you. We've been getting to know each other over the last couple of months, but also what you've been doing and some of the initiatives you've been running and are working on in Fiji that are going to ultimately be providing wealth to people that may not have the basics as well, and what was driving that. So I thought it would be an awesome conversation to have. Yeah, it's great to have you on, so thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
So, how would you define wealth? What does it mean to you?
It's interesting. As I grew up, that definition has changed, I think, drastically. I think growing up, parents always prioritize monetary wealth as the most important thing. That's how you define yourself. That's how your peers would, I guess, value you. I don't know. It's very social. But I think over the years, what I define now more so than anything is my ability to help people. And it's just in anything. Because I've realized, like, it doesn't matter if you're on a private jet or if you're just on the street somewhere, having a banter with the boys, just talking I don't know.
That's fine.
Kind of like the pinnacle of life, you know? Like that's it. And I think just surrounding yourself with the right people and why I like you guys so much and spending probably too much time here is it's really fun to just be around like-minded people that want to have, I guess, the same motivations to want to help. And even meeting you today, having the conversations, I think it's going to be, I'm actually personally quite excited to learn more.
Cool.
I feel like the stars are lining up. That's for sure.
The universe will provide, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, I truly think, like, if you want to do something and you really go out and get it, things just naturally start coming. It's interesting. But yeah, I think I don't know, in a way to summarize, just to be able to help people right now, I think would be the best thing. I love putting smiles on other people's faces. So
Cool.
Yeah.
So was there something that started you off on this path? So you have quite a unique definition of wealth, and I love it. So what was it, in like an event, or was it the way you were brought up, or is it similar to your parents, or how did you come with this life approach?
Growing up, I mean, I think most Asian people or children will be able to relate, I guess. We've always had, tough childhoods, let's say. Like, there's always this expectation of what you should become.
Yeah.
And with a heavy priority on making money. But it's interesting because, all the ways that, like growing up, I'm sure every Asian will relate to this. It's like a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, or an accountant. And it's interesting that our parents' view on how you accumulate wealth is through those traits. And not to take any sort of value away from these guys, but fundamentally all of them are trading time for money, which by definition is the worst way to make money. If you look at the most wealthiest people, none of them are any of these types of traits, which is very interesting. So I guess the education side from the parents is very different. The thing that, I know personally for me, is like, I used to be in a big corporate, and every year we got a significant pay rise because we were doing really well, but it didn't really make me happy. It didn't really make a change. It was like, okay, it happened. And then I was like, oh, and then what now? And then I realized nothing really changed, right? Like, it's just an extra number in the bank account. Like, does that mean anything? And then I started thinking about, well, what is actually money? Isn't money just like the world's largest transaction, like a database of transactions? That's all it is.
IOU.
Yeah,
money is ultimately an IOU.
Yeah, it's a more convenient way to trade for goods and services, right? That's really what it is. And I think a lot of people's view on money, like, people like to save money, and they like to, which I think is just, I don't know. I see like money as, it's almost like a hammer, as a tool, right? And if you don't use it, then it's no good, right? It's not going to bring any value. But then I just think, like, people prioritize that too much, and just need to. And I'm not saying that's wrong, right? I think it's just whatever you value is important. But then when I discovered that, that's how I saw money in the end. So I don't know, I guess I parked there. In parallel, I guess getting more exposed to, the things that I've been doing in terms of charity work and seeing how other people live,
Yep.
I just realized, man, we are so lucky. We are so lucky to be where we are. You know, the fact that we can have clean drinkable water at any moment. You know, we can order any cuisine of any food at our fingertips. Yeah, and then when I see how other people live, I realize just how, you know, lucky we are here. And, you know, how can we, and just, I don't know, I have this way of like putting myself in other people's shoes, and I can almost live their life, and I can almost feel their anxiety, their stress, their everything, and I'm just like, how can I alleviate that? And when you have done a little bit of it, it's actually quite addictive. And when you can make a difference in even just one person's life, it's a very rewarding feeling. And I think that's what then drove me to what I'm trying to do today. So.
Okay, so what was the first step you took on that journey there? Helping other people, building your version of wealth. What did it look like?
So I think, and this was a really dark moment of my life, and I'm not sure if this is going to stay in the recording later or not, but I have a really bad relationship with my parents.
Okay.
To the point where we basically don't talk anymore.
Okay.
I was stuck in a corporate job that I didn't like, and at the time my partner had just split, so I was like hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I just thought, before I leave this planet, I want to do something good in my life, right? And I started just giving away all of my money that I've ever saved. I started giving away, and that was part of the donation I told you about, going to the islands. And so during COVID, we donated a whole lot of PPE gear to the islands, and that sparked a chain reaction. Like, people were like, why is this kid giving away gold in a time of pandemic? And, you know, what else can you procure? And then I think that's when I realized I had this special ability to network with people, but also, because I don't think I'm particularly good at any one thing, but I'm really good at just connecting people from all around the world and listening to people's pain points and understanding what the actual problem is, and then working with them to, you know, basically provide a structure to help people. So we started off with PPE gear, and then it moved on to like colostomy bags, and it was like, wow, this stuff doesn't exist in these places. You know, it's really just mind blowing. But providing it in a way that can be consumed by the local market,
Yes.
rather than, because you can have the best thing in the world, but if no one can afford it or no one can consume it for whatever reason, then it's as good as useless. I always tell my guys, 100 times zero is still zero, so it doesn't matter. So that sparked a chain reaction, and the more that I helped these people, they started revealing like more stuff from their too hard basket, right? And yeah, that's how we got to today. We just kept solving more problems, and then bigger problems keep coming. So yeah.
So what are you doing today then?
Well, the most recent initiative we started this year, we're calling it Global Care at the moment, where we're trying to provide equitable health around the world. And it stemmed from, so one of the hospitals, they reached out, because we started digitizing the infrastructure. And one thing that became apparent was there was a lot of x-rays, about 6 months worth of x-rays that they've been able to scan, but not enough local specialists to actually provide any diagnostics or treatment for the patient. And if you look at how the hospitals run, or how the country is run as a whole, the talent retention is very hard, because if you want to move up in that society, you typically move out. You know, with the same skill set, if you move to another country, you can get triple the pay, and that's if you're just average at your job, right?
Yeah.
So moving on from that, when you look at these hospitals, a lot of their payroll systems, you know, it's all a bunch of junior doctors running this. So I started thinking about, okay, well, how can we actually tackle this problem? And, you know, luckily my friends, they're all very technically savvy, and one of them started an AI engineering firm. And I started talking to them about, okay, how can we, you know, because the only thing we can do is, you know, if we had 10,000 x-rays and we got a group of radiologists to help, they can only still do one at a time. It's not really scalable, right? And this is still a very small population that we're targeting. So the problem that's true here is true for all the different islands, which is also then true for all the developing countries. So how do we create a system that then can be scalable, right? Scalable and also affordable, because a lot of these guys, they don't really have money. So that's what we started exploring, and we're looking at developing our own like AI image recognition software to identify points of interest and to provide a second opinion for clinicians to help. But it's a two-prong approach. One approach is to be able to quantify the issue through technology. So for example, if I scan 10,000 x-rays tomorrow, but I find out 500 of those 10,000 is going to die in the next 3 months, there's nothing my AI system's going to do to better, you know, actually help that, right?
Yeah.
It's then, you know, connecting with people and clinicians, and I've met a lot of people similar to Ab and other doctors who've been who come from these developing countries and have moved to places like New Zealand, Australia, have become very successful, and they really want to give back. So I thought, why not create a system where if we can help them process more patients per hour, and then get them to then connect with these guys to actually help with the treatments. You know, let's start with something remotely, and then we can figure things out as we go, basically. So Yeah, that's the most recent initiative that we're trying to do. And I think if we can prove it working in this small nation, then we can potentially replicate that everywhere.
It's like, must be really rewarding and also exciting to see the potential of it, right? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of hard graft that goes into this thing up front. But if you can come up with a solution that, like you say, can help a small island nation like Fiji roll it out across the world, how many lives have you helped?
Well, see, this is the thing, right? Like and I think we're in a sweet spot in technology where I think, what was it, like something like 40% of the world population doesn't have access to the internet right now. Like that's
Wow.
crazy in itself.
Yeah.
According to World Health Organization, about 2 billion people don't have access to primary care.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys, and that's why I tell the engineers, are like, we don't have to have the best thing, we just have to have something. Because
Yeah.
right now, a lot of these people, their options are nothing or death.
Yeah.
So like, whatever we do is gonna be better,
Better.
right? And that we can try and perfect the system, but there's honestly no point. Like, even if the system is like, 50% accurate, then we've helped half the population. If it's 80% accurate, and I think over time it will just get better, but I think it's more important to just start doing something now, and then we can grow it together. Because a lot of the problems you don't really learn until you hit the ground and you actually just be with the people, right? Like similar, I guess, with what you're trying to do in the health space, trying to help people, instead of telling people, what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious what people should do, but sometimes they can't accept it.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of things. Whether it's just their own personal choice or they have financial struggles or whatever it is, there's a lot of reasons why someone might not be able to do something. It's to listen to their pain points and then, coming up with a solution that's tailored for them. So it's more, so it's consumed, right?
Yeah.
So it's consumed. So that's the main important thing. So we've just started that. And I think the most rewarding thing in this is just surrounding myself with just like-minded people who just all want to help. And I
Yeah.
think that's been amazing. Like, no one sat around the table going, all right, how much money we're going to make, right?
Yeah.
It's all just like, our KPI is more about how many people can we help. And I think that was just epic. Like,
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, so that's probably the latest thing this year.
Okay, that's exciting. So, like, on this journey, things don't always go right, correct?
Never.
What's like one good lesson you could offer to other people so they can learn from your experience?
I mean, this particular project is still quite new, so we haven't hit almost like a game-ending event yet. But
Knock on wood,
I can
I'm
tell you,
hoping not.
I can tell you in my history of other businesses that I've created, there's definitely a lot of points in life where you're like, do I carry on or do I
Yeah.
just give up? Like I still got the LED screen business where it's actually doing pretty well now.
Yeah.
But when we first started, it was interesting. We bought a 40-foot container LED screens, and we actually ran our own exhibition. It was like a Chinese art expo that we did in the Vodafone Event Center. We did that for a month, and the artwork we got was from China. And for us to use this artwork, we had to get like a special license, right? And what was interesting was it went through the Chinese government, and they were like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" We're like, "Oh, trying to bring culture into New Zealand." People like me who grew up here didn't get exposure to my culture, but also providing that multicultural
Yeah.
to get people to. And it's interesting because a lot of people, when they do art exhibitions, they do all the European artists, like Michelangelo, Van
Yes,
Gogh, Da
that's
Vinci.
so true.
I just feel like it's just tired, And
Yeah.
if you look at India or China, they've got like 5,000 years of history you can pull from. I'm like, why has no one done this? So we did this art exhibition, and then it just so happened to be the 50th anniversary between China and New Zealand, and we ended up hosting the event. So
Oh, that's epic.
that was actually our first project. So what a lot of people didn't know was when we did the demo, I think it was NZ Herald, NZME, and TVNZ3 were coming to do a piece on us, and a few days before they arrived, none of the screens worked. So,
How did you fix
and
that?
it was like probably one of the most stressful moments in my life. Because I actually had no experience with LED screens. It was my first time touching it. And when I assembled it, I was like, what am I doing? Because it was a very big screen. It was 40 meters by 3.5 meters tall. There's
Oh my God.
525 screens pieced together to look like one. We really didn't know what we were doing, but we somehow figured it out. We
Yeah.
didn't sleep for 3 days. We stayed there and we just figured it out. And I think the thing that got me through it was just knowing the big picture.
Yeah.
Like, why are we trying to achieve this? Because I think no matter what you do in life, you're going to hit obstacles. You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to potentially start again. You're going to have to do a lot of things. But what keeps someone going is that long-term vision of what are we trying to achieve here, and just reminding yourself that this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think that will get you through the obstacles. Mm-hmm. And I remember someone saying this to me: if you never give up, then you won't lose.
Yeah.
If you never give up.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's extremely true for startups as well. Ultimately, when startups don't succeed, it's because the team burn themselves out and can't carry on.
Yeah.
It's do you have another pivot in you? You know, do you have another go? And then eventually, you know, sometimes the founders don't, or the person doesn't, right? And that goes for all endeavors in life, relationships, careers, businesses, renovation projects, probably, you know, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, that resilience is really important.
Without the long term, I think it's really easy to give up. You know, so yeah, just having that long term goal, I think, is really important.
And trying to avoid anything from being binary. We have like a saying in the company with a bunch of them. One of them's live to trade another day. So never put yourself in a position where it can be over. That's something that we've lived by as an organization since we started. And I think it's a good one. And actually, it didn't come from us. We've copied it from someone else that had that great idea of live to trade another day.
I think this is actually, you touched on a really interesting point. Everyone has this misconception that an idea is what's going to make someone successful. I think an idea accounts for maybe less than 10% of the overall project. It's the execution that's most important and actually most difficult. Because there's how many people on this earth you think your idea is unique? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I just need to reiterate that whatever you're doing, there's probably 100 other Chinamen doing it and probably better than you. So how do you position yourself to be better? And how do you execute it? How do you?
It's like when early stage startups will go and ask for you to sign an NDA. It's like someone can just get your idea and then execute it. Execute on it, then like
it wasn't a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually it's more of a mindset thing. It's like, don't worry about an NDA in many cases. Like you're not going to be able to give like anyone, like startups are so hard, like projects are so hard, especially when they're getting started. Like taking something from 0 to 1 is extremely difficult.
But difficult, right? I think that's the key word we need to remember. And I think a lot of people fear from difficulty, but I think it's actually the wrong mindset, because something is only valuable in this world because of how difficult it is to achieve, right? If it wasn't difficult, then it had no value. And starting a startup, I don't know, the comparison I like to say is that the more difficult it is, the more excited I am about it, because the nature of the difficulty automatically filters out a whole lot of people that's your competition.
Yeah.
Like imagine if you're climbing Mount Everest, right? How many people would want to climb Mount Everest? Not many people at all. It's a very difficult task to do. So the nature of creating business is similar. It's very, very difficult.
Well, many people will actually say, I want to, right? But but very few will go step at the bottom and actually make that first step into climbing Mount Everest. And I think that's the real difference. It's like, and with my first startup, when we were building the gaming platform, what I focused on was, how do I build it and release it in 30 days? Like the first version. Because it doesn't need to be, like you say, it doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to start.
Yeah.
And that goes for your savings journey if you're thinking about saving for a major purchase, maybe saving to start a business, or just saving for your wealth and accumulation of wealth and retirement. It's how do you take that first step?
It doesn't have to be the biggest step, but it's just the step.
And it could be literally just working out, okay, do I earn more than I spend? You know, like that's a great place. Or if you're in a situation where you have some debt to pay, it's how much do I have, and how long would it take if I, just that little first step. I think it's really, really important, and is a great asset to someone, is actually just that first step of execution.
Yep.
And there are going to be setbacks, and having that expectation that there will be setbacks, and it will always take you longer than you set out, right?
It's about being comfortable with being uncomfortable at the end of it. Yeah.
So before we started recording, we were talking about discipline.
Yeah.
How much of that is part of your success, do you think?
Oh, I think discipline is incredibly important, because if you purely rely on motivation, you'll never get anything done. And if you look at any successful person in any field, whether it's business or sports or anything in life, do you think they wake up just feeling pumped all the time? There's just no way. But it's about doing the uncomfortable thing, even when you don't feel like doing it. And it's incredibly important to do that, because it's the consistency that's going to get you anywhere in life. Whether it's wanting to be successful in a business, or even just wanting to lose weight, right? Or even brushing your teeth, right?
Yep.
It's not about brushing your teeth for 9 hours a day. In fact, that would be very bad for you. It's about doing 2 minutes twice a day, every single day. Right?
Yep.
It's the same discipline, and developing that habit is, I think, extremely important, and it will take you so far in life as long as you have that one skill. Yeah.
Okay.
My first jiu-jitsu coach told me to just get 1% better every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that because that's actually huge gains.
'Cause I think
1% better a day
cumulatively.
over a year is incredible.
It's one of those things where, like even if you want to become successful, just go slowly. Because if you go too fast, a lot of people get burnt and they die. They die real quickly if they go too slowly.
Yep.
Too fast. Go slowly, and also set achievable goals, right? Instead of making like, if you want to lose weight, don't be like, I want to lose 100 kilos.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I'm going to go on keto. I'm going to do this. I'm going to
Yep.
cut my calories in half. I'm going to do something crazy. Like, actually, no. If just start tracking. Right? That's the first thing you do. Just start tracking your calories. Like, and then you start realizing, actually, if I just cut 100 calories a month and you just start with that, and
Yep.
then you just slowly make your way through. And you'll realize that it's not only more sustainable, you'll live a better quality life, but in the long run, you'll be able to maintain it, right? Whereas a lot of people going, I'm going to do keto, and they actually do drop like 20 kilos,
Yeah.
and then they eat a slice of toast, and then it's back.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like 90% of diets, so that people be successful the first time around, 90% of people put everything back on and often more.
Yes, yep,
So diets work,
100%.
but generally not long term because they're not maintainable.
It's good money making scheme,
Generally,
though.
yeah. Well, we can see that, right?
Well, what do you think of all of those drugs that have been coming out, Wegovy and those? I often think about
Like weight loss.
those because they're very popular right now, and there are equities right now that are going to the moon off the back of this. They've got you've got Novo or something. Can't remember the name of the company, but they're like Norwegian. There's some European country, and they actually have to take that company's earnings out of the GDP of the country because it has such a large impact on the country.
Wow.
I can't remember what it is, but yeah, what do you feel about that approach? Because it's becoming very popular, extremely popular as well in the US and Europe. I don't know how much it's taking off here, but I always think that there are going to be some gotchas in the future, perhaps.
I honestly, I don't know too much about this because I haven't been following, but I don't know, my opinion on these things is there's always a balance in life. No matter what you do, there's always a balance, like whether it's good or bad. There's no way to cheat it, There's no way to cheat it. And even if these weight loss drugs work temporarily, I can't imagine it being very healthy. Like if you're consuming way more calories than you should be, but you're counteracting it with this drug, or you're taking this drug that's suppressing your appetite so that you don't eat at all. But there's a difference between being overweight and also being nutritious, right? If you have these suppressants that's stopping you from eating food, you might look skinny, sure, but are you healthy, right? And if you don't, then, well, what's the point?
Yeah,
Right?
totally agree.
It's really like, without really knowing much about these drugs, I'm only assuming that this is typically what's happened in the past, is because it's calories in, calories out, right? It's as simple as that. If you want to lose weight, but then it's about the content of the calorie, right? Is it actually healthy for you? Like, or are you going to, like, I know people who are very skinny, have been doing keto, but they dropped it the next day, like because they got lots of fat, like that's really dense in their skin. But so it's just not showing physically. In fact, I think it's actually more dangerous if you're one of those skinny people who eat and they're getting fat. It's actually, like a lot of people tell us that you're doing that, but in fact, I think it's actually the opposite because the symptoms aren't showing, but that doesn't mean the disease isn't there.
And thin is not healthy, right?
Thin is not healthy, right?
Yeah.
like people have this like thinking that thin is healthy. It's not, right? I think there's definitely health benefits of being like obviously not obese for your bone structure, for just everything, right? Like you will feel better being less weight than more weight. But I don't think that's really healthy because if you end up eating like one meal a day, okay, then how much nutrients are you getting out of that one meal a day?
See, so I'm a health coach by trade, and so I work with people who are trying to manage their weight. Some people choose to have some drugs that help them with that, and it's really interesting because I often see people when they're on their second round, so they've taken it for 3 months, they've lost lots of weight, changed nothing else, come back because they've put all the weight back on and they want to have another go with the drug. So it's usually a 3-month thing. But this time the doctor said, well, you need to talk to a health coach because we need to change some of those habits to make sure that you're eating healthy, nutritious food so that when you go off the drug, the weight that you've lost, you're not going to put back on because you revert to the old habits that you have that maybe aren't so beneficial for you. So, and that's working. Like some of the people I'm working with who are going through that process, it is working for them and they've gone off the drugs and they've managed to keep it off because they've made those lifestyle changes. So the drug almost gave them a break, an opportunity, I suppose, because for a lot of them, their thought patterns around it change. They're not thinking about food all the time, so they've got brain capacity to make better decisions around other things. So in some cases it's working really well, and in other cases people are taking a drug, losing a lot of weight, going off the drug, putting it back on, going back on the drug, losing a lot of weight.
It's a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of like any other fad diet, right? It's a cycle.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how, like you say, Charlie, long term, what the impacts are.
Yeah, the unintended consequences.
Yeah.
They're always an interesting one.
So I'm imagining with what you are doing, there's high points and low points and stresses and that thing. What do you do to look after yourself throughout this?
There are daily habits that I stick to make sure that I have almost like guaranteed wins.
Yep.
Like exercise, for example, and make sure that I always exercise. Having a cold shower every day,
Yep.
actually, it's one of my routine. Like even now, like it's winter, it's cold. It's cold.
Yep.
But now it's training yourself to not have that, oh, should I do it or should I not do it? You've got to do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, and it's just, there's no hesitation now. Like I've been doing that for the last 2 years, every single day. And it's definitely become a routine. And I actually feel really, really good after doing it. And it's like a little win, right? I've done something, I'm comfortable. And it's just making sure that you have these daily wins. Because when you do run your own business, when you do these things, like most of it's pretty tragic. Whether it's, just something's not working with technology or just discovering, 3 people getting amputated every day, like, you're just thinking, man, if I was that person, like, if you were to put yourself in their shoes, like, imagine you had an appointment tomorrow where your arm was going to get chopped off.
I know.
And all of a sudden, every single problem in your life disappeared.
Yeah.
Right? So in that moment, you have clarity. You're like, wow, actually, my problems aren't that bad in my life. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And what you would give, and I think it's just knowing that, and then you're like, right, now I need to do everything I can to maintain what I got. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on, is they always look at things that they don't have rather than appreciate what they do have. Like, and I think there's always going to be someone with more than you. But I think, especially in the part of the world we live in, there's way more people with a lot less than what we have. And it's just that appreciation. And I think the practice of giving thanks has definitely gone down through the years. And I think that's quite sad, because we're actually very, very lucky. And if you just change your perspective on a lot of things that you do, you'll realize that you can be very happy. Yeah.
Okay. So if someone was starting out, trying to build their wealth, what's some advice you might give them?
Like what you asked me, how do you define wealth?
Yeah.
Right? Where's your goal, right?
Yeah.
Where's your big picture? How do you, do you want to have a lot of money, or do you want to be surrounded by family? And I think that's the thing when people think about money, they don't realize the impact of it. Like if you had $100 million today that you won, right? The first question you need to ask yourself, right, which family member am I have to give up?
Yeah.
Because the sharks come, they're going to swim, they're going to be like, how much money are you going to give me? And if you don't give it to them, then you basically lost a family member. It's like, can you really shoulder that responsibility? Is money actually going to make you happy, or is it going to be the thing that destroys your family?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, even if you have the money, is your quality of life be better? Is it? So it's really like asking yourself, what do you actually want? Because whatever you choose to do, you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. It's going to be very difficult. So if you don't love doing it, your life is going to be miserable.
Yeah.
So make sure you find out your why and what you love doing. And then once you figure that out, the rest is just a process, right? You just got to go and do it. Yeah. Just take the first step. Don't be so caught up in how to escape the forest. Just take one step at a time. Can you see the step in front of you? If you can, just take that, and that's it.
That's awesome advice.
Yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Cool.
Easy.